This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Bill Fick Ford. Bill Fick Ford is the #1 Super Duty dealer in the entire country, guys. #1. I can't think of any truck dealer who does more for the rodeo community than Bill Fick Ford. Guys, they're a family-owned and operated dealership. No bull discounts, no bull interest rates when the financing comes in. These are some of the best rates you can get. Yo, you're not in Texas? You're not in Huntsville? Well, guess what? Bill Fick Ford offers nationwide shipping for all their new Super Duties. I can tell you myself, getting a new Super Duty from them, I'm pretty excited when it comes in. Talk to Bill Fick Ford. Go to BillFickFordHuntsville.com. That's BillFickFordHuntsville.com for the best deal on a new Ford Super Duty pickup. Check them out.
This is The Gauge with host Chance Conradu.
Are you freaking serious? It's Conrado. This is The Gauge, and I am Chance Conrado. On this episode of the podcast, we have got Brandon Bates. Who is Brandon Bates, you ask? Well, Brandon was the PBR announcer for 18 years, from early 2000s on. He's done some other things. He's announced some PRCA stuff in his early career. He did the American this past year. Dude, this is just a fun podcast. We just bounce all over the place. At this point, you guys get the formula. We're 51 episodes in. You understand that there's just some squirrel moments, and that's just how it is. Some of it's really intellectual, some of it not so much. But it's just fun. Guys, you turn this on, you listen to it in your car. It's like you're not going to be bored. Brandon's a ton of fun, you know? And I just try to keep up and be halfway as good as these people come on the show when it comes to entertaining, which I can't do. Still, check it out. Oh, good thinking, taking the logo off the coffee cup. Yeah, that Eggs Benedict looked kind of funny to me. Was it good?
It was good, but I instantly, my stomach hurt, I think, the moment that I ate it.
Yeah.
But it was good. It tasted good. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for chorizo.
Chorizo, yeah, no
8
kidding.
a.m.
Place is good. We got there right before it gets crazy. You ever been to that place called Yoke in downtown Fort Worth, Ty? Probably not. They don't serve breakfast with your hours.
Yeah, we got here at 10 a.m. and the first thing Ty said is, Ty, how are you? Early morning. I'm like, it's 10 a.m.
I've been up since 7 hours.
There's ranchers getting ready to take a nap right now.
Yeah, their day is done.
That day's done.
The hay is baled, as they say.
Yeah.
Ty.
I was up till 3 a.m. last night, so don't look at me.
He said he was covering the NBA draft.
Yeah,
free agency.
He's a huge NBA
or free agency. I'm sorry.
NBA player.
Yeah.
Do you like basketball?
Do you really want to? I mean, I told you at breakfast this morning. My biggest thing is that I don't want to be boring. So if you want to dive off into politics in the first 37 seconds of this podcast, I'm ready to go.
No, dude, that was the first thing that you told me. Is I'm ready for politics. It's like, hold on.
No, I mean,
Ty is not even awake yet. He's not ready for that.
Ty's gonna burn the studio down.
We're all still recovering from November 3rd. Actually, we're not, because we don't know what the hell's going on.
No, I mean, yeah. You asked me. Let me go back to the question where you said about basketball.
Yeah.
I loved basketball until they turned it into a political statement.
Yeah.
I don't need a bunch of guys that make $10 million a year and run up and down the court about what they believe is socially unjust or what they believe, because they have no idea. They're the definition of privilege. And so yes, I love the basketball. And when they want to start playing basketball and they want it to get rid of a bunch of bullshit slogans up and down the court and on the back of their jerseys, then I'll be a basketball fan again. The biggest fan that I'm a Jimmy Butler fan. I pulled for Miami till my eyes bled because I pulled for Jimmy Butler because he didn't want anything on the back. He didn't even want his name.
Yeah. He
just said, I just want to play basketball. Leave me alone. Let me play basketball. And I don't care if you're black, red, purple. That's what we all want to be. I don't see color. I don't think that way. and I'm not crazy to think that there's people that don't think that way. I mean, and unfortunate for them, but yes, I like basketball.
Yeah, you are just sitting on the trigger of let's talk about politics. You want to? Okay, let's do it.
No, I don't really. I want, if we're gonna do a podcast, you haven't even said who I am. People don't even know.
That comes later.
Oh, that's later. Okay.
Yeah, we do intros.
It's
after.
this mystery like
This
angry,
mystery guy,
angry person over
here. We go
here.
to breakfast as soon as we get the podcast. Hey, I need to stop the production here because I got to go blow up the bathroom. It's healthy.
It's coffee and eggs
twice a day,
Benedict's.
every day.
Twice a day.
This is
day.
not the first podcast we've talked about poop on.
I know. Well, I just said no. See, you're changing the narrative. We got in here and I said before we go to the podcast, before we start talking, I would like to go to the restroom. And I didn't say if I was going in there to wash my hands or clean my mask, or whatever I was going to do.
You just said restroom.
I just said I had to go to the restroom because I didn't want to stop mid-podcast
So
interview.
what we did is we timed it, and then that's how you know.
That's
But we've had...
This is like, man, he's been in there 4 minutes. You know he's
we've
pooping.
we've had supermodels in here talking about their bowel movements, so it's a big deal.
Yeah, I'm certainly not embarrassed. I haven't met a human that doesn't poop, so...
No.
I've
met a few who say they don't.
That's right. That think theirs doesn't stink.
Goes back to talking about females.
Yeah.
Like, no, I've never done that. Never done that. I just watched you eat 3 donuts. Are you telling me that's just gonna evaporate?
No, and it wasn't that I said I wanted to get breakfast. You and I were talking. I just said I said I did not want to be another boring guy on a podcast. So whatever we needed to talk about to make it interesting in the very first moments that people jump on there, I want them to get hooked, engaged, and then listen. And they can decide if I'm crazy when it's all over with, or they can decide, hey, I don't like that guy. But at the end of the day, maybe they'll think that they'll come back and listen to the Gage podcast because they realize that the next person is going to be interesting as well.
Or they won't because we talked about basketball, poop, and politics all in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds.
We're not even 5 minutes in.
No, we're not. No, but this is I think why the
Did you
show's
see how
fun.
mad when you started talking? Did you see how I couldn't even breathe? I started getting so angry when you start you talked about basketball because it was I loved basketball.
It triggers you.
It did. I loved it. I loved it. I mean, I play FanDuel too, fantasy sports and stuff. I play FanDuel, DraftKings every day. I mean,
really?
I played it every day, and I love basketball, and not because I'm a guy and I would bet $5, right, just enter a few tournaments, but it made the sport so engaging, and I really really liked it, and then they ruined it, and I think their ratings proved that they ruined it.
Yeah, I think so. Ty, I need the volume up on my headphones. I can't tell if I'm yelling or if I'm talking very quiet.
I don't think you're yelling.
No, a little less. You're supposed to be a professional.
This is all you. This is not me.
Ty,
it's all your ears.
Ty, I don't know how to work that thing.
How does that sound?
That's perfectly balanced.
Perfectly balanced. Ty's still not awake. It's 10:15.
That's the problem. We're used to doing these things in the evening, right? Instead of coffee and potty breaks, it's booze and throw up.
For my friends that know me that are going to listen to this, they know that I would prefer 6 p.m. with a 32-ounce Yeti full of ice and Crown.
Really?
That's yeah.
No, we got the Crown. We got the Yeti.
Well, I mean, I'm not.
We probably don't have the ice.
I'm not doing it this early. I'm not doing it this early. It'd be a wreck.
What do you do with the rest of your day?
I got to fly home. I just be sitting in my seat, just past it. No, actually, oh man, no. I did. I mean, this is a sad thing. People are gonna think I'm an alcoholic, and my wife will attest to this. And people that
you are an alcoholic.
No. I said people are gonna think that I'm alcoholic, but I said my wife will attest that I'm not, and my close friends will attest that I'm not. But yeah, so I was the PBR announcer for
18 years?
18 years.
Yeah.
I'm 18 World Finals. God, I'm going to get in so much trouble for this. I don't give a shit. I retired last year. But every night I filled up a 32-ounce Yeti full of ice.
Just to get yourself there?
Well, in a half a fifth of Crown. And I would start sipping on it 30 minutes before the show, and I would sip through it until the end of the show. And by the time the end of the show, I had killed a half a fifth of Crown. but I did that I didn't do it on Sunday, but I did it when we had a show on Friday and Saturday night. That was my thing.
Well, so was that just to get yourself to that level of energy?
No, it wasn't. I mean, no. I mean, because I didn't do that for 18 years. I'd probably be dead of liver failure. I didn't do it until the last probably few years, but it helped relax me and it helped me not take everything so serious. I didn't take shots and shots. I mean, we're talking about over a 3.5 hour period, right?
Oh, totally.
I just kind of had a slow drink in my hand. And And I was always professional, and I never, let it cross the line. And I had friends, Flint Rasmussen and my partner forever, Clint Atkins, in the booth as well. And, they always told me, they were like, look, we don't care if you have a drink to loosen up, but if it ever crosses the line, we'll tell you. And not once in 3 years did I ever have anybody come to me and say, hey, you got to stop. Like, because
Right.
I just, it was, I don't know, it was kind of like a comedian. Like, you ever seen a comedian that didn't have a drink in his
never.
hand, right?
Yeah.
Because it just, I don't know, it just helped me kind of flow out. So
No, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, see, I thought you were going to go a different way, where you were going to say I was so disenfranchised with announcing for the PBR that the only way I could stomach getting through it was to get completely trashed every night.
no, I loved it, man. No, I absolutely not. I mean, I loved it. It was one of the greatest, I got that job, announced my first PBR World Finals when I was 23. I got two funny stories I got to tell you.
Yeah, tell me.
One funny story, speaking of when I was 23. And PBR, my very first event was at the Lazy E. They had just pulled Justin McKee from the live booth over to television. And A.G. Myers had called me, and Justin had called me. A.G. was the general manager of the Lazy at that time, and this is a lifetime ago, obviously. Called me and said, hey, kid, we want you to announce Bullnanza, which at that time, Bullnanza was a big deal. And not that there just doesn't exist anymore, but Bullnanza was a really big deal. That event in February was huge. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I was like, hell, I'd have paid them to let me do it, at that time. And they were going to pay me, obviously, and then I was going to get to announce my first PBR, and I was going to get to announce it with Clem McSpadden, who at the time was, he's a legend, passed away now. But so super nervous. I'm announcing this event. We kind of get through the weekend. And it comes down to the final night, Saturday night. We're at Lazy, and there's this, for those of you rodeo fans out there that remember, there's still some rodeos like this. The announcer stand was actually just above the center out gate, above the buck and chutes, and it was kind of rickety, and it shifted around and moved. So we get to the very last of the championship round, last commercial break. There's I think 5 guys left to go, before we end the show. And they're guys like Jim Sharp and Ty Murray, and I mean they're bigs. Clint Bronger. I mean they're every famous bull riding athlete,
Especially at that time.
At that time, well, I mean they was Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman, right? Like they were that, those guys were left to go. Clem McSpadden lights a cigarette on the announcer stand, slaps me on the back, and says, hey, kid, you're going to do a great job. I got to beat the traffic and get the hell out of here. Like, smokes a cigarette. And I'm looking, and I turn white. I just turn like pale white. And I look, and I'm like, are you see? And he literally like put on his jacket, grabbed his little briefcase. We're in commercial break, climbed down the stairs. And as this is still happening in slow motion, I look, and McSpadden is walking out the back door to his car. And we're coming back, and I'm just like, oh, my God. And Cody Lambert is on the floor at that time, and he and I are really good friends now. But at that time, he despised announcers. He just absolutely despised them. And he's looking at me, and he's screaming at me, and you're so stupid. And I mean, I'll never forget it. And yeah, that was my first PBR. How I made it 18 years after that still an absolute mystery.
Why did you not just go get a desk job right after that?
I thought I was going to have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
you thought they'd never have you back?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm like, look, one of the greatest announcers of all time and former Oklahoma gubernatorial candidate just walked out the door on me, and he left, a Hall of Famer, and now I'm like, man, I'm stuck here doing this by myself. That was my very first experience, but then it turned into an 18-year career.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, most people with an experience like that probably would not turn it into a career, but maybe you pulled it off. I mean, you never said whether or not you pulled it off.
No, I did. Yeah. I pulled it off, and I think that was kind of a defining moment for me that let me know that hey, I'm supposed to be here, and I didn't realize it then. I mean, I look back on it now, and I think that was pretty cool, but. Just to have a story like that, an experience like that was really awesome.
No, I mean, no doubt. And what's crazy, I mean, 18 years with the PBR, you have literally more or less got to watch it develop into what it now is.
Yeah, it was a big damn deal when I first started. I mean, when I came along, I mean, those guys were, they were clipping. I mean, it was, 01, 02, those were the years I was cutting my teeth in amateur rodeo. Of course, I was 21, 22 years old and didn't get the call up until Didn't get the call up until I was 23. But yeah, I mean, most guys don't get that job until they're I'm 41 now, by the way. So most guys don't get that job until they are at least 40. Late 30s, 40, maybe 50, by the time you're that level of, at that level of Western sports.
No, I mean, totally. I mean, it's so competitive now because there's so many people who want to be. I mean, you're not the first announcer or past announcer who's been on this show, but
I bet I'm the first past announcer. What other past announcers? Anthony Luch is not a past announcer.
No, he's not, but he's not announcing the NFR, so.
No, but that's because, I mean, he's not announcing the NFR, but it's not because he's not announcing the NFR because he doesn't have the talent.
He's got a show, Live with Lucha.
Yeah, it's not because he doesn't have the talent.
No, Anthony's great. Yeah, I love that guy. We get in so many little bickering matches on social media. Never ends with him. Yeah, and he's one of those rare people I was saying who's actually really a good, genuine guy in the rodeo
Super
industry.
Talented on television too. That was a conversation I had with him a couple years ago. He was announcing Days of 47. And I had announced it, and he had been called over to do Ride Pass and work for PBR and stuff like that. And the first time I got to kind of see him on television, and I called him immediately, and I was like, you got to stop the live announcing now. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you have to stop the live announcing now because you're way too good on TV. And he is. He's really, really good
he's
on TV.
Great. Yeah, I mean, Live with Lucha is probably, like, in the world of rodeo shows or stage shows going on at the NFR, I think his is the best.
Yeah.
I mean, Flint, obviously legendary, but the energy that he has where it's actually like a late night show.
I can't put those guys together. If I call one better than the other, they're both going to be massive. Yeah. You guys have great shows and you both get a trophy.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody gets a trophy. Yeah. Which is not rodeo, but apparently announcing.
So what are we going to talk about? Are we doing it? Are we talking about it? Is this how it goes?
The whole show's done.
Okay.
That's what we had to hear for.
That was easy.
I just wanted to hear that one PBR story, and then you can go back to the potty because I see you squirming around.
There's a lot more.
No, totally. Well, and one of the things that I find to be interesting about you, especially when we were sitting at breakfast, is I'm really ready to hear your opinions on rodeo. I think it's we've been in such a little comfortable space here with the ultra famous barrel racers and the things we've been talking. We haven't got too controversial in a little while. Let's do that.
Okay. What do you want to do?
Well,
I'll go back to my statement. Let me start.
Why don't we go back to where we kind of ended at breakfast?
Well, let me go back to my statement on politics. Here's what I want to tell everybody. This is what I believe about politics. I absolutely hate and despise them all. They Republicans, Democrats, Independents, the whole nine yards. I think there's a handful of people in our Congress when it comes to, when I say Congress, I'm speaking as a congressional branch of government. Senate, House, I think there's a few people that are good people. I think they're blinded. I think they have no idea what type of cesspool they walked in. But I believe.
Don't you think that they come in with all these wonderful intentions and they're going to change the world, right? And it doesn't even matter left, right, or center. I think at the very beginning of someone's political journey, who knows where they started, right? Most of them lawyers. That's one of the big problems.
Yeah,
is most of them start law. They don't go up your traditional route that you would expect, right? You should have to sit on a city council. You should have to be a mayor. Then you should have to work through kind of the lower levels of politics, not just come out of Yale.
Yeah, no, and 100%. But at the same time, term limits. Like, I think you should have term limits. Like, that's the biggest crisis I think we have in this country right now when it comes to our lawmakers. But what I'm saying, and when I say that I hate them all, and that's a really strong word that I hate that I have to use it again. But their only way to succeed is to keep us divided. And that's what I think people are missing and they don't understand. The right can jump up and down and scream what they're going to scream. And I'm a Republican. Let me just put it out there. I'm a conservative Republican. And the left can go out there and do the same exact thing. And they know that by them creating that division, they know that by this person saying we're going to do this and that person saying we're going to do that, that they keep us divided, and that's how they stay in power. And until we stop baiting into that, until we stop going to the corn pile while they're sitting in the deer stand, it'll never end. And I mean, stop watching Fox, stop watching CNN, stop watching MSNBC, stop watching the news, stop getting your opinions off of social media. Live your life. It goes back to my favorite meme I've seen about the coronavirus. You'll love this. Two Amish guys sitting side by side. One Amish guy looks at the other Amish guy and says, "Why haven't we caught coronavirus?" The other Amish guy looks at him and says, because we don't own a damn TV. I mean, there's your take. I'm not saying COVID's not real. I know it's real. We can go down that rabbit hole some other time. It is real. But if we didn't have a TV, and if we didn't buy into social media, and if we didn't buy into the fear that the left and the right's been giving us, stay in your home, wear your mask, do this, don't do that, like this is going to kill us all. It is a 99.8% survival rate. That people that die from is terrible. I mean, I and don't get me wrong. And let me tell you, I'm speaking from a person of fear as well. My mom's a diabetic. My dad's recovering from cancer. Like he's immune compromised. I'm very, very cautious about them, and I do think it's real. But that doesn't change the fear that the government is putting on top of us, and we've got to stop that. I'm not saying that we don't need to be cautious and we shouldn't take some precautions, but we've got to stop living in fear. That's not who America is. That's not how we were founded. That's not how we're created. That's not how our Constitution's built. That's not who we are as a people. We've never in our lives ran and hid from shit. So why are we doing it now?
Well, it's this beautiful cocktail called 2020. I mean, if you think, and I think everybody, right, left, center, maybe not so much left because of just the polarization, but has to understand that most of this was, I'm not going to say created, because clearly the coronavirus was not created here.
No, it was created a lab in China.
Yeah, Wuhan, China.
A lab in China.
Dude, I have a funny story. I know, and this is really getting deep, but I know one of the executives from PepsiCo, right?
Okay.
He is in charge of all of their acquisitions, and he spends a humongous portion of his time in China. All the aluminum cans, they come from China, right? Especially now, he's got to be over there a lot because, well, all of these tariffs and the supply chain issues, which are affecting like literally any industry that has to do with metal or small components, is being decimated right now in this country because we let all of that infrastructure go, right? It was all shipped and sold to China. So if you wanted for your living quarters horse trailer, a door hold back, that comes from China, right? You can't get that stuff right now.
Right.
You know, if you want a replacement window for your trailer, okay, good luck. Most of them come from China. Or if they don't, the material that is used to make it does. And he's sitting on so many, when you go to China and you do business, a member from the communist regime sits in on your meeting and they record it. Doesn't matter what country you're from. And this guy tells me, he's like, I can tell you because I've heard it directly from them in board meetings. They didn't mean to slip it, but they did. We had translators. They heard what they said. They created it on purpose.
100%.
And sent it here on purpose.
They sent it around the world.
This is coming from an executive from one of the most powerful companies in the world. He literally told me that on the phone, and I just was like, I mean, that makes sense. Why wouldn't they?
They can say whatever they want. Every media person and whatever left-wing politician, no, even right-wing politician, whatever, oh, they didn't do this, oh, they didn't do that. No, they did. They absolutely did it. They know exactly what they're doing. And if people don't think that China's in the business of population control, then why are they forcing abortions? What's their, you know what I mean?
What's so interesting about China, if you actually are able to have conversations with people who understand how their government works and what they've done, they've created these mega cities in China that make Manhattan look like nothing, makes Abu Dhabi look like nothing. They have these in China. They built them so fast. They built no infrastructure around them. They're vacant and they're falling apart. Right? Look at everything that's going on in Hong Kong. Now, that's the majority of China is uninhabited. Most of that country is uninhabited. Where they did build these giant cities, they're falling apart. So, I mean, they are literally on the brink of complete and total economic collapse, which is why they're doing what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
So this guy says, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am too. And at the end of the day, I'm guilty of my own, what I was just saying about, like, don't fall in the trap, stop dividing. And, you know, like we do, man. Like there's so many people that have like different opinions of what I have with, but like we've got to stop being mad at those people. Like we've got to get back to a place where we can have conversations, where we can be like Americans and we can, you know, and I don't know how we get there. I think that on a deeper level, we're fighting something bigger than China. I think we're fighting something bigger than the U.S. government. I think we're fighting, you know, I truly believe at my core as a Christian man, like I believe in, I've cussed 3 or 4 times. People are like, oh, Christians, we do cuss sometimes too, but but as a, you know, as a true, you know, like believer in God and Jesus and I, you know, I think we're fighting evil. I think we're fighting it at a level that people have absolutely no idea what that really looks like. I believe we're fighting pure evil right now, and I'm talking about, and it's winning on a scale that it's never won before, and it's being accelerated. Yeah, I mean that's so. Yeah, I mean, and let me just for the record, like I'm not, you know, I'm not against the Chinese. Like I'm not, I'm for people. Like you know what I mean. I don't care where you come from, where you live, what country you're in. I think there are bad actors inside of foreign governments, just like I think there's bad actors in our government. You know, I fundamentally believe that. So whether it's them, whether it's us, whether it's whatever, like, you know, it's government. We're all in the same boat of crooked politicians.
Yeah, well, and you learn that so fast, right? Like how intertwined everybody is. I think everybody was so shocked by Fox News' coverage of the election, the way that they did that.
To put that in perspective, I watched CNN.
Yeah.
I switched. It was so early in the night. I remember I came upstairs. It was probably 7:30, 8 o'clock. Of course, I'm in the mountain time zone where I live now, and I told my wife, I said, I can't believe I'm about to say this. I mean, and you can go back and check my Twitter. I said the same thing on Twitter. I mean, I switched to CNN.
Yeah.
Because their coverage was 10 times better of the election than Fox News. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Going back to my statement, and I want to get into some substance here. Don't take me down this rabbit hole where I'm just talking about random stuff and people are like, man, that guy's crazy.
No, this is the gauge.
No,
we live in the rabbit holes and we just bounce from one to the next.
But that's why I say they're all in on it. They're all in on it. And if you don't think that they're all in it, go back and look this week at the video. You can find it on the internet. You can Google it in 2 seconds so you'll see it. Look at the fist bump between Lindsey Graham and Kamala Harris on the Senate floor. I'm not against Kamala Harris. I'm not against Lindsey Graham, but they are self-proclaimed against each other. They're fundamentally against each other, and they both talk about both sides of their mouth about what they despise about each other. He's supposed to be diehard Republican. She's a diehard liberal. That's their thing. And then they're on the Senate floor fist bumping like you and I would if we had bumped into each other at a concert.
Yep, exactly.
Because they're in on it together. They're showing you who they are. Believe them when they show you who they are. They know that they can work together to create division on both sides, and that's how they continue to stay in power, and that's how they continue to make money. They're all evil. And if they want to call me and explain to me why they're not, I'm not expecting the president, vice president-elect to give me a call, or a sitting U.S. senator, but I bet they don't have the balls to do it. Because they don't want to talk about that.
Well, and they don't want to talk to Americans about America.
Zero.
No, they just want to scream whatever it is that they don't actually believe, to push whatever agenda that someone told them to push so that they can get millions of dollars.
A million Americans last week in Washington, D.C. at the Trump rally. Not one elected Republican came out and spoke to those people. Not one. Not from Congress, not from the Senate, not one. Why would not one elected Republican come and talk to people, even if it's to calm them down? Because they don't want to calm them down. That's the worst thing they can possibly do for their pocketbook and for their power grab. So think about that. You got 1 million Americans protesting for Trump, 1 million Republicans, call them right-wing, QAnon, crazy, whatever. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Not one elected official came out and talked to those people. They don't want us to come together. They want division, and I've never realized it as much as I have this week.
Yeah, which perfectly explains Fox News' coverage of the election, why they called it so soon. It is a freaking network like that's wet dream to have Joe Biden as the president. And this doesn't even matter if you like Joe Biden or Trump. Yeah, if you voted for Joe Biden because you don't like Trump's mean things he says or his hairdo or the fact that maybe he's not as smart as maybe he should be, that's all great. Like, vote for Joe Biden. Do what you want to do. That's what this country's about. You can vote for whoever you want. There was a big part of me that sat and stared at my ballot while I was wearing my Yeezys and thought about voting for Kanye. Just because I like the shoes.
Actually, I had a big funny joke on Instagram. One of the very few Instagram posts that I made where I actually had the marker holding over the Kanye.
Did you really?
Like, finally, I did it. Yeah, you can. Bates Outdoors. You can check it and see it. But it was there, and I had it, and you wouldn't believe like the people that are like, "You're part of the problem." And I'm like,
"It's a joke, you clown."
I mean, not only was it a joke, but the hell with you if it wasn't a joke. Like there's people that have taken bullets in the face so I can vote for whoever I want to vote for, and we can't be mad at people and judge them and say you're a part of the problem because you voted for this independent. Like that's where we are.
Yeah, no, that's the whole purpose. I mean, that's why the founders of this country set it up the way that they did. Why we have these rights that they're trying to be erased is so that you can express yourself in whatever form you want to, whether that be freedom of speech on that election ballot, whether you want to carry a gun, go through the list of things that we're allowed to do in this country that say the folks in China are not allowed to do.
Yeah.
And that's what actually you should be worried about and what you should be attempting to protect. You know, not your feelings, not your opinion of some dude's hairdo or how old Joe Biden is. Either way, you know what I mean? It's like doesn't matter.
Division, like I said,
doesn't matter.
Division is
You're right.
Division is the blood that flows through their veins, and they all know it. And I'm sorry to say this. I'm with you, but I think I'm becoming woke.
Yeah,
that's what I'm becoming woke. Where I'm sorry to say it, but we're too stupid as a mass society to realize that that's their true game and that's what they're really, really doing and that's what they want. And if you're a Republican, I'm sorry, it's your party. If you're a Democrat, I'm sorry, it's your party. They're all in on it together.
You know what I'll never forget in 2016 that I found out, just a random fact? Marco Rubio, when he was running for president. Do you know his wife is a Democratic lobbyist? His wife is a Democratic lobbyist.
Yeah, and
he was running for president on the Republican side. How could they, if it is how it's portrayed in the media and by each of those parties, how could those two people sit at a dinner table together?
Well, I mean, look at oh my gosh, my brain, I just turned into Joe Biden for a second. What was the lady that was on the big person for the Trump campaign forever? Her husband is Kellyanne
Conway.
Yeah, Kellyanne Conway, and her husband George Conway. I mean, you're talking about a husband. So she is the primary. I would argue the primary female spokesperson for the entire Trump administration.
Yep.
Her husband is sitting on the other side of her shoulder doing everything he can to bring down the president of the United States. Once again, I'll go back to this statement. They're showing you who they are. Believe them. When they show you who they are, believe who they are. Because that's what they are. They want you to live in division. Hell, they live in division. They marry into division. So why would we think any different? That they don't want us to be divided? Because that's all they want. That's the only way they have power.
It's true, and it is one of those hamster wheel discussions that infuriates people because people don't want to see that. I mean, but you can literally never stop this conversation. No, because there's too many examples of it. And
you said, and Dustin was a good friend of mine and yours as well. But we're supposed to come on here and talk about. We're supposed to come here and talk about me.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no narcissistic way there's no non-narcissistic way to say that.
He warned me to not let you do that.
To be here. We're supposed to be here to talk about me, guys. I don't know why you got me going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, he told me if I brought up the beer hat that you sold so well that's all we'd talk about. It's like, well, let's get into the deep state. Let's go full Alex Jones.
I'm not going full Alex Jones. By the way, I don't want to promote another podcast, but everybody else out there, after you get done listening to the Gage podcast, you should go listen to the Rogan and Alex Jones and Tim Dillon, I believe. Did you listen to that episode?
Yeah, that was excellent.
It was incredible.
It was fun.
That was the moment that I listened to Joe Rogan and I went, oh my gosh, he's really, really good.
He's really good. The way he could control that conversation and just not,
I think Alex Jones is crazy.
I love Alex Jones because he's crazy.
I like him because he's crazy.
You love the entertainment value of that.
No, I don't love the stuff he says all the time. That Sandy Hook thing was really freaking stupid. But
you love the entertainment that he brings.
Oh, dude, it's freaking. I could only listen just to the crazy crap about the globalists and the alien space probes going in your mind, and just hear those over and over again.
Listen, Joe, I got to tell you something right now. You got to understand.
Joe, you got to understand. You got to understand. I was there for that when the alien globalists came down and they probed my mind and stuck their finger up my ass, and I will never forget that. He doesn't even live too far from here. Yeah, he's only a couple hours from here.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I just say, you want to get into the weird stuff way out left. If you want your brain to open up and go, oh my God, go listen to that. After you listen to this podcast, then go.
Do you know what I hate about that podcast?
Is 3 hours long?
Well, actually, dude, I don't mind the 3 hour. It takes me a week to get through it.
And me too.
But I don't mind them.
Yeah.
What I didn't like is Tim Dillon has great things he can say. He didn't get to speak in that.
Right.
Because it's just, how are you going to interrupt Alex Jones?
Because you can.
Only Joe Rogan can do that because he could strangle him.
I would be scared to death to have to interview Alex Jones because I don't know how you control that guy. So anyway, but let's go back to.
You have to be more powerful than him, right? And Joe Rogan's like one of the few people who are.
Yeah.
So I think that's how. He came in this show, he would just cut me off.
With Joe Rogan's powerful voice and also still having like a calm demeanor throughout the whole thing.
It's that whole, like, I could actually, heel kick you right now, you fat.
Yeah. Super normal.
But
globalist fighter.
He's not, but Joe Rogan's like not aggressive though either, but
You don't have to be.
like,
No.
that's what I'm saying.
Not when you're that kind of guy.
He just has this, like a strong demeanor, and still the way that he did that episode is just staying calm the whole time.
Yeah, you listen to it too?
Yeah, I saw some of it.
Yeah, how could you not? It was
was
pure.
great.
Even if you don't listen to a word he says, that's the thing that I actually hate about Alex Jones is how many times he's actually correct. Just
I
like with
know.
Joe Rogan, I was like, yeah, that's not fun. What was the group they were talking about? Where they go
Bohemian
dance?
Grove.
Bohemian Grove, dude.
The Bohemian Grove thing.
After you heard that, how? And I challenge anybody who listens to this episode, if you haven't already, tune the hell out because I don't blame you. But
Stop it.
to
This is gold. This is going to be your most downloaded episode, and we're going to spread it.
If Brandon Bates beats Haley Kinsel, Ivy Conrado, and Emily Miller in most downloaded episode,
Emily Basil.
Beisel, yeah,
Beisel,
Emily
sorry.
Miller Beisel. She just got married, but if you could beat that, because that sucker went so viral instantly, and it was way more chaotic than
Okay,
this.
well then when you edit the podcast and you put it on, you need to put some, like, the biggest thing that okay, that's fine.
Like, get me on this one. This is me. No,
Okay,
he does
okay,
nothing
you.
on that.
All right, so
Dude,
when
I don't
you,
even know how to
when
turn that
you-
computer on.
When you start this podcast, you have to start it with like the most intriguing paragraph or 2 minutes. Like, it has to start there. I don't care if you interrupt it and come back and then go to the main interview, but it has to begin with something that's going to like bring people in.
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
that first 5 minutes kind of sells it.
This episode
Just
of
bring
the
it in the
podcast
first 10 seconds, though.
is brought to you by Rule Cloth. Ah, look at his ears perked up.
See, I turned around like this episode of the podcast. This episode of The Gauge is brought to you by Rule Cloth.
Yeah, see, that's the whole pitch.
That's the whole pitch.
Yeah,
That's not, yeah.
yeah, we make beer or whatever the hat says.
We grow beers, what the hat says.
yeah,
We grow beer.
yeah.
So what do you? Yeah. So where do you want me to start from birth, or what do you want me to do?
Well, yeah. Well, what you said?
1979,
1970 freaking 9.
May 4th, 1979.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would have preferred to have been born probably 20 years before that, but didn't make it.
Yeah, you say that now, but if you were 60 right now, you're probably like, God dang, I wish I was 40.
I don't know, man. I mean, if I could have my girls in the same exact life and my wife and all that stuff. I'm just talking about. I'm not getting back into this. I'm just saying the fundamental America that we live in now compared to the one that we grew up in. And we grew
How
up
old are
in
your
that-
kids?
13, 4, and almost 2.
Oh,
All
wow.
girls.
All girls? Oh, what did you do wrong to deserve that? Exactly.
I'll tell you that a good friend of mine that's a Green Beret, and he's a real American badass, and he's killed a lot of bad guys with a long gun. Like he has all girls too, and like he had all girls. He had at one point, but when he had all girls, he told me then he said God only picks the really special ones that can handle it. So I'm gonna go with that. So
cool. I have 2 sons, so I guess I'm not special.
See, that's
Just
what I said.
lucky.
Yeah.
I'll take luck over anything, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'd love to have a son, and my wife kind of keeps badgering me a little bit to have another baby. But
4 kids? That'd be a
I'm
wild time.
I'm 41. She's 4 or 5 years younger than me. She's 84, so yeah, she's February 23rd, 1984. So she's almost 5 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So she, and her brain. When I was her age, I was like, yeah, let's have more kids. Now
Yeah.
I'm 40. When she's 41 and she thinks like me, she'll be like, oh God, that's scary.
Yeah.
So
I mean, 1 kid is terrifying.
yeah, yeah, much,
Yeah, just
especially
one.
in this world.
Well, and that's the scary part. We talk about these things, and then what your brain starts to do, those little rusty years that are not narcissistic, because all people are just inherently all they care about themselves. And you
Right,
train yourself to not be that. Mm-hmm. And actually, that's how you know when you meet someone worth spending time with or being friends with is when they have unlearned that bad behavior.
Yeah.
Which is so tough in the rodeo industry, which we haven't talked about at all.
Yeah, you wanted to get into that.
I did, because your opinions on it are bleak, and dark a little bit, but I like that.
They're not bleak and dark. I think they're honest. We'll get into that.
Honesty
So
is usually bleak and dark.
Well, that's why I retired, so I can be honest now. I don't have any political games to play. I don't have anybody's ass to kiss. I can just tell you what I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I started. My dream and goal was to be a PRCA announcer, and I found that initially I found that because I wanted to ride bulls, as a lot of kids do. I think 12, 13s when I really got started. By the time I was 17, 18, I realized that I was terrible at it, and I was able to say like, hey, I'm not any good at this, but I really like rodeo. And I had started to announce some high school basketball games and football games and things like that where I graduated high school, just up the road, by the way, in Atoka, Oklahoma, about 2 hours and 45 minutes from here.
Yeah.
And so that's where I graduated high school, and I was announcing events and those types of things, and then it turned into one play day, and then it turned into one youth rodeo, and then I was announcing a lot of amateur rodeos. I moved to Pennsylvania to work for an amateur stock contractor, and I hate to say that. That sounds so terrible. Dave, if you hear this, I don't believe you're amateur. I'm just meaning the organization that sanctioned the rodeos we produce, because Dave is a professional, was a great guy, gave me so much in the very beginning. His name was Dave Martin, and he had a Dave Martin Pro Rodeo Company. And anyway, I moved to Pennsylvania to work for him during the summer run, because this guy put on like 30, 40 rodeos in the summer. I mean, we're talking like crazy stuff.
Busting.
Yeah. And so I went to work with him, and at that time, still, I think the same process. Now, you have to go through the PRCA approval process, where you submit like 5, I think it was either 3 or 5 amateur rodeos.
Yep.
This is where I'm about to burn pro rodeo to the ground. You submit 3 to 5 amateur rodeos, and they send out for those of you watching video, you can see me doing the 2 little finger things,
air quotes.
Yeah, they send out an evaluator to come tell you if you're good enough. What do you think happened to me the first time?
Tell me.
They failed me. I sent them $1,500 or $1,000. I can't even remember what it. 500, 1,000, or 15. I can't remember what it was. A lot of damn money for a kid that didn't have no money.
Right.
Okay. And they failed me. They said I wasn't good enough, and I'd have to repeat the process. I'd have to wait a year and do the process again.
Another $1,000.
Another $1,000 or whatever it was. So eventually I got approved. But they failed. They sent me a letter and said, hey, you're not good enough. I announced the PBR finals 18 times. I announced the Dodge National Circuit finals when it was good, and it was in Pocatello.
Yeah.
I announced a lot of really big events. I mean, that's my, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It was such a joke. I still believe it's a joke. Like, let a guy get his PRCA card.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't need to go through an evaluation process. Have a couple of other announcers, if they can get out of their own way, to sign for him and say, hey, we believe the kid's got talent.
Yeah. And
then let him go out there and try to get a job. And if he gets hired, then he's good enough. It's like this market of socialism and what you guys have in pro rodeo's big government. It's not just about the announcers, about the bullfighters. It's about all the whole deal.
Right.
Right.
So catch me up, because I'm not sure how this works, at least within rodeo announcing. How does it work? Because usually in announcing, when it comes to our sports, it's just the organization hires someone that they see that they
100%.
can hire.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine the NBA saying, well, I don't know, this guy hadn't been through our NBA approval process. Like,
Yeah,
if they find a sportscaster that works at 103.3 in Dallas.
It's just like a normal background check. Like, just any normal job is just usually just someone that's had broadcasting history. That's about it.
Yeah.
But so how does it work with rodeo announcing?
Well, that was my point going to the PRCA. For you to get a PRCA card, you have to go through their approval process, which I call their robbery process, because they want you to go and they want to charge you $500 or $1,000 or whatever it is, and then they want to make sure they get another $1,000 that you get nothing for, so they get to come listen to you a second time. But don't tell me that I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying anybody from Pro Rodeo, if you were an executive, I'm sure Taylor listens to this too, but don't tell me that I'm wrong, and you weren't there, so it's not your fault. But that's what happened. That's what you do. And you got, you know what I mean? So anyway, that's my soapbox about that.
Well, yeah.
So I eventually
got so bitter about it.
So I eventually got approved. And announce some great rodeos, and there's some great rodeo committees out there, and then the PBR called. I'll never forget. Jerome Robinson called me. I think Jerome Robinson's one of the greatest guys alive, and he called me and said and said, "Hey, we want you to come do 17 events." This was in the winter. I remember where I was standing when I got the phone call. It was in the winter of 2002. It was, I think, this week, in fact, in November.
Yeah.
And Jerome called me and said, "Hey, we want you to come to 17 events next year," and that was it. That was kind of the end of my pro rodeo days.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you probably never, if you get a PRC or a PBR job like that, you're never going to think about PRCA again.
No, that's not really true.
Yeah,
like
maybe now. Back then, probably it was different.
No, I mean, yeah. At that time when I was working, I mean, I was working for PBR, and it was such a great gig for me, man. And I did, I came back and announced the American. That's where I got COVID, by the way.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
In March?
In March. I'm 99% sure. I got really sick that week. When I was here at the American, I announced the American with Randy Smuts, and and I was here, and I just got super sick and had this weird eye pain.
Yeah.
I don't remember losing my taste or smell, but I had this really, really weird eye pain, and my wife will tell you, she's like, "I've never seen you that sick." Like, I was really, really sick. Remember coming back from the building and being so exhausted, I just laid down in the shower because, like, I literally didn't even feel like I could stand up.
Right.
And I remember talking to Justin Sports Medicine guys that Sunday morning. I went in there. Of course, by the way, I'm probably a super spreader. Ta-da, that's me. Because we didn't know. There wasn't tests.
No, well, during the American, like, you could feel something was about to change during the, that was the weekend that it was starting.
So many people got sick in San Antonio. Well, the music director I was with at the American, and he was at San Antonio. He got super sick in San Antonio. Brad Narducci. I don't know if you've ever met Brad, but Brad and I are really good friends, and Brad's been around so many positive tests even through this year. I mean, we talked about this last week. He's like, he was tested every day during the PBR finals,
right? And
he knows he was around positive people during Sioux Falls because they tested positive. He was around them. He had dinner with them, the whole 9 yards.
Matt West. Matt West got it.
He hasn't tested positive once. Hasn't tested positive once since. So he hasn't been sick since then. He got San Antonio. That was a week later. We were at the American. So that's my point. Well, I think we all got this whole rodeo family.
I think it was going on before that. I think it was going on in Vegas because all of us were so sick after the NFR last year. So sick. I was sick for like 12 or 13 days after the NFR. This head thing just would not go away.
We heard about the study that just came out in Italy where they were doing blood samples on people that had passed away from pneumonia-like illnesses like in September, and they found COVID-19 antibodies. That was in September.
Yeah.
That people had passed away. This thing's been around for a bit.
Oh, it has been. Yeah, I mean, Italy of all places, the average age is like 65 and everybody smokes and is a diabetic.
Yeah.
But
so anyway, we're talking. I got I was an announcer with PBR for 18 years, and I will be forever indebted and grateful. And it was such an incredible job, and for me to be 40 years old and to walk away from it was a dream that I'd always had. I had as much of a dream of walking away from it on my terms as I had getting it. As crazy as that may sound, as I had a dream as a kid whenever I was in my late teens and early 20s of getting the job. And then I had I had the same kind of dream towards the end of my career of being able to go out on my terms and do well enough for myself and by my family to spend time with my wife and my girls. So yeah, that was, and being able to walk away on my terms. So.
Yeah. Well, and you were kind of filling me in a little bit on the details when we were eating breakfast, but, it was just a sense of it had been Groundhog Day for 18 years, and you just didn't feel like there was any more you could do in the organization to justify staying another however many years. I
mean, there's 18 buckles in my office. What were two more going to do?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There was, and they were, I think, and like I told you at breakfast, one of my favorite quotes about it was the final episode of The Office, where Andy said, "I really wish there was a way to recognize the good old days before they were actually gone," and that's what it was for me. Like, I wanted to be able to, like, God, I'm in it, man. Like, these are my friends. This is my career. I did it. I lived it. I've seen every major city in the U.S. I've been to Australia. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Canada. I've been to Brazil. I've been, you know what I mean? All doing the job that I wanted to do, and being able to recognize it, own it, and walk away from it, and find out what God has for me in the next chapter. that was the biggest thing, is I really wanted to know, like, what's next? Like, I came into this world naked and broke. I would be so much fun to try that again at 40. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we think like that. You know what I mean? Like, we never stop for a minute and go, my gosh, like, I was broken naked when I came into this world. You start with absolutely nothing. You may have good parents, you may not, but at some point in time, you can screw that up, right? Like, no matter how good your parents are.
Most people do.
Right. So you're broken naked when you start. And, and I certainly wasn't broken naked at 40, but I did cut off my right arm, that I got rid of one crutch, and only, and not that PBR was a crutch, but you know what I mean. It was a significant part of my income. I mean, multiple, for a couple of years, my wife and I had the conversation, like, are we sure? Do we try, or is this okay? Like, and I think we just, took a leap of faith. I'd started, we'll talk about that in a bit too, but, Rural Cloth, I'd started a company, and really, and I recognized towards the end of my PBR career that if I was going to make it work in the business, if I was going to make it work in the business world, I had to go all in. Like, I had to trust the process. I had to get rid of the outside fringe things that were creating distractions, because I couldn't be on an airplane Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or in New York City or in LA or, wherever, doing these large events, and then come back Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday morning and focus and run a company, because it was just too much.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's such a balancing act, right? Because it's you say that, and that's something I do now. Actually, I balance multiple things, which is it is a challenge. And actually, what it does is it kind of robs you of some of your happiness, which is something you have to do, right? If you want to be excellent at something or do anything worth doing, you have got to make certain sacrifices, especially starting businesses, but or any type of entertainment job. I mean, you're going to make sacrifices, but that's something you and I have in common, is starting businesses, and actually Rural Cloth is so successful now, which is great, because you picked one of the hardest industries to do something in, and one of the failure rate in starting clothing companies is like 98%.
Or probably 101%. That's what it feels like. I mean, and that's just blind stupidity. But let me, we can go into a deeper level of that too when we come. Let me tell you, it's not me. And I think you probably got that from breakfast. I fundamentally do not believe that it's me. I believe it's God. I believe that that's who makes things happen at the moment that he makes things happen, because I truly understand that I'm not smart enough to do the things that we've done. And there are people that, and I have really close friends that say, yeah, you just don't give yourself enough credit. No, and I never will, because I don't believe in that. I believe that God placed strategic people in my life at the right time. Dustin Pointer, one of those people, was
likewise.
A person that, placed that person in my life at the perfect time. Placed other people in my life at the perfect time. And that's how Rural Cloth has become successful, because, and I've talked about this a little bit publicly, probably not as big as this podcast is, because I know the hundreds and millions of thousands of people around the world that are going to listen to it.
Millions. but only because we put your name on it.
Right. But my end game is not to have a super successful clothing company. It's not to have, to die with trillions of dollars in the bank. Like, that's not what I want to do. And I want to be a philanthropist. I want to make as much money as I possibly can, and I want to try and help people. That's what I want to do with it. That's from 40 until, I don't know. I do. I believe God's put me on the path to live a long life. He hasn't told me that. I could get hit by a truck tomorrow or on the way to the airport, whatever. But I do believe God's put me on a path to live a long life and to do good. And I think that's why he kind of opened the door for me and recognized and said, okay, your PBR chapter's over. You're going to spend some time with your wife and your kids and grow up, and now you're going to start a business, and you're going to, you're going to do really big things for people. And so, that's my end game. That's kind of the, I want to build Rural Cloth up. I do want to sell it. And I want to continue to do other things, and I want to try to help people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're a believing man, right? If you delve into the word at all, even recreationally, right? And I mean, I consider myself to be a Christian. I'm not a church person, but I'm certainly a Christian. I certainly know the word of God, and just like you do. But that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we are directly called to help people.
Yeah, and I've done I think I've done a terrible job of it for 40 years. I feel like I've almost 41. Like I feel like I've wasted 41 years. And look, I've helped people. You know what I mean? Like I think I've done some okay things, but not nearly like I could. Not nearly like we should. Not nearly like I think we're directed to do. But but Rural Cloth is successful. I believe that Rural Cloth will be successful, and I believe that we'll do great things with that company. And who knows, I may own it forever. I may not sell it. God may show me another path and say, "Hey, look, you help more people this way," and that's okay. I'm open to that. But yeah. So anyway, to take you all back to May 4th, 1979. I was born in a small town in Louisiana. Transplanted to.
So that's where the announcer voice came from.
Transplanted to Oklahoma, and then now my wife and I, we live in a little bitty town just outside of Park City, Utah.
Oh, Park City's so great.
Well, we don't live in Park City. We live in Oakley, which we think is great.
You don't want to live in Park City.
We think Oakley's greater.
Yeah.
Oakley's a little town with about 1,000 people in it, and the mayor was the principal of the high school and the whole 9 yards. And I mean, it's a really cool little town.
Yeah. Utah is like Colorado, but not touched by all the boulder.
Right.
Utah's great. Park City's kind of like that, but Utah's
Park
such a great
City's
place.
kind of like that. So yeah. So now we live there. I was a rodeo announcer and a PBR announcer, and retired from that. And then I started my clothing company, and we're just we're living life, man.
Yeah. Are you setting up a Cowboy Christmas this year?
I'm not.
No.
Well, no, because I just the uncertainty of what was going to go on and what that was going to look like, and you just didn't know, and it's. To load up a trailer and with full of gear and go down there and try to tackle something that you have no idea where you're walking into. Going blind.
Yeah.
And we just didn't think it was we're still a pretty young. When you say successful, I want people to understand like we're still a very, very small company. We're not. When I say success, I think success is certainly in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about your marketing budget. I mean, there's very successful companies who don't have marketing budgets that large. So, and you don't like to call it marketing, I know.
I call it extortion, but it's because that's it's the ad spend and stuff that we the money that we pump and pour into social media and that we're from our ad standpoint. So, but yeah, no, you're right. But I mean, you got to spend money to make money. You know that. Is better than a lot of people, I think, and we're just really excited about where we are, and we kind of started. We had a successful design, that America We Grow beer hat. We sold thousands of those, and people loved that design and concept. And then it kind of, got into better outerwear and better gear. And now, like this, stretch flannel shirt that I'm wearing right now is a new piece that, we just came out with. And I mean, our product is just our company. Here's what I say about young companies. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're starting your own company or you're wanting to start your own company, every day you survive, you get a little bit stronger. Every single day, you get a little bit stronger. So,
especially in a year like this, I mean, that is one thing. When I was in California with my business partner talking, it's like in our industry, the fact that we made it through this year is like, if we can do this, we can get through anything. I bet you feel that same way.
100%. That's exactly what I feel like. I mean, we made a plan in early March with COVID. Hell, I'll tell you this, and I guarantee this will be something that when Rural Cloth is a real significant success, that I'll be able to tell this story, and I'll be really proud of it. COVID saved our business. We were growing too fast. I know people think that's crazy, but there is a such thing.
Well, especially in your industry.
Specifically, if you don't know where the small leaks are, there is a such thing. We were growing way too fast. And we needed some efficiencies to come together, and we really needed to understand, what was going out the door and how it was going and how efficient we truly were. We were getting ready to place a significant order for spring and summer of 2020. This was in February. We were having these conversations, and we were 2 weeks away. And when I say spring and summer, it was really a July order that we were talking about was going to drop and hit July 1st. And so it was right there, end of February, 1st of March, where it was our D-Day to make the thumbs up or thumbs down. And it was a gamble. I mean, we were going to be on our line of credit significantly. Like we were going to be in debt to make this happen. It was our leap of faith to turn into a real company. And COVID hit right at that time, and the world kind of shut down, and we all went, oh my gosh, we got to stop it all. Like I had to make some really tough phone calls and be like, I know we worked hard on this. I know this was our plan, but plans change, and I'm really sorry. and we stopped. And we didn't place that order. Had we placed that order, even without COVID, I think we would have continued our growth plane too steep, and we would have stalled out. I think we didn't fundamentally understand the health of the business the way we needed to. So when COVID happened the way that it happened, hit the way that it hit, it forced us to take a hard look in the mirror, and we went, okay, we got to stop. We got to slow down. And I genuinely believe with everything I have that it saved our business. I know, and it's a terrible thing to say because there's so many people that put their life work into other businesses have lost their businesses, and I'm truly sad for them. But you know why it happened to us the way that it happened, it just did. So yeah, that's kind of my COVID story.
You picked the computer.
I said go. You're good.
Ty, what computer do we need? This one. Oh, and then as soon as we start doing the 4K stuff, it's not powerful.
Really,
enough.
I need a whole tower. I need like a big desktop.
Dude, we said whatever computer we have to get to make this work, we'll do it. And you said this is the perfect computer.
I didn't think
and
it-
it's
I
got
didn't-
the
And
brass
he went
rod.
with a Lenovo.
I mean, Lenovo makes good computers, right, Ty?
Eh.
Well, you
Yes,
picked it.
Exactly. It's like, we'll give you any computer
We
that
need
you
it.
want, and all of a sudden the $1 trillion company in the world that's called Apple, you thought they just weren't the ones, right?
Well, I needed a PC to
Okay.
because my PC at home it's a PC. So to make it easier to
You're one of the last diehards.
No, he's a gamer.
Oh,
PC is also much better for video editing.
okay.
I'm just saying.
A lot of guys that edit on Macs that would.
Hey, we do Mac when we travel.
Yeah. Hey, Ty, it's
horrible
your
for
world.
tra-
Ty, it's your world. You live in it, buddy. You do whatever you need to do to make it work.
Yeah, the running joke is that Ty is the butt of every joke on this show.
Yeah, I make the show run.
He makes a show run.
He does.
Again.
Yeah, we did these survey things, and people were like, "Be nice to Ty. Be nice to Ty," and then others would be, "Ty, shut up." There was like this little battle. It was like the left versus the right. People who wanted us to be nice to Ty, and people who wanted Ty to shut up. But to be honest, the show could not operate without Ty.
The show could never operate without a producer.
No, yeah,
There's
and
no
finding a great producer is actually pretty hard. So we got really
yeah.
lucky with him.
Yeah.
He is a wizard,
Yeah.
and not just because of his hair.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. He threw me off track with.
Oh, we were talking about COVID and businesses and.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about the deep state and.
Nope, we're not
Hey,
going.
hey,
We're
my
not,
bros.
we're not going back.
Listen, Brandon.
We're not going
Listen,
back down
Brandon.
that path. People, I mean,
I'll tell you, I'm the smartest man in the world, and very few people are as smart as me.
he's talking about Alex Jones for reference. He's not talking about me. He's using the Alex Jones voice. That's stuff that Alex Jones would say.
Yeah, what level of Alex Jones voice? Am I like halfway there?
A little bit.
No.
That's not there. You're getting close.
It's the same grunty.
Mike Mathis. Do you know Mike Mathis,
Mike Mathers? No.
the announcer? Mike Mathis.
No.
So
Basketball?
we call him. No, he's a PRCA guy.
Yeah.
He's a rodeo announcer.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them. Good guy.
Yeah.
But that's it. But that's
Tallman
That's
and,
his voice. I think it's Tallman, Mooney, and Seiler.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I saw the other day.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we covered depth. Like, did we cover? Like, are we good? Like, do you feel?
No, I feel excellent. No, I think it would, Ty. So Ty's the person to ask
Okay.
because he listens to it. There's a fly on the wall. And he'll be brutally honest if it sucked.
Good stuff.
Was he good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Ty knows a good podcast.
Yeah. I just didn't want it to be boring, and I didn't want
No, it's
it
good
to
stuff.
be.
Good
I didn't want it to be terrible.
No,
Good
it's
stuff.
not terrible at all. And if we hit the hour mark, like the hour mark we've learned is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Right? That is the sweet spot for podcasts unless you're Joe Rogan. But even that, like you look at Joe Rogan's reviews and people are like, dude, make them shorter.
Yeah.
Because that's the feedback we get a lot is you guys need to make them shorter. But I mean, you can't cut people off when you're having a deep conversation. That's the point.
Yeah. No, I feel good about it. I think we covered everything, and I'll be super happy to come back in a year.
Yeah.
That's because I think that's your rotate. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have people back too soon.
No. Yeah, I mean, this would be episode 51, too. So, I mean, we've been busting ass since June.
So I'll be back at episode 102. Just
There
hold
you go.
Just hold my spot.
Hold your spot.
Hold my spot.
Put
Ty,
him
you got
down
that
for
at 102.
All right.
When will that be? That'll be like,
In
Probably this time.
3 weeks.
that wouldn't be this time next year.
Probably be a little earlier.
I mean, if we were to count,
What's math? I don't know math at this point. Hold on. No, I swear to God, if you do that again, I'm gonna flip.
For the record, that's
that.
Chance. That is not my strong.
like halfway through 2021.
Halfway. Yeah. Well.
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
I can't wait.
what? 4 months we got to 50 or 5 months? Yeah.
I love it.
Never sip into the damn mic again.
Be back.
I did that
Be
just
back
for
to
you.
102.
I have to edit that out.
So yeah, man. Anyway, I'm super excited for you guys. I mean, I think that you guys have done this podcast and the setup and coming here and seeing the studio. Like I think you guys are doing it right. Bringing people in and making them be here in person. I thought when I talked to Dustin about this in the beginning and you a little bit, like I thought it was an impossible task to really get people here. Like I thought it would limit you to some degree, but it's no, it hasn't. I think you guys.
You can't have the same level of conversation over Zoom or Skype.
No,
you just can't.
No, you absolutely can't. So no, I'm excited for you guys. I think it's great, and
Dude, likewise. Yeah, I love Rule Cloth. It's good stuff. Yeah. The
What's
idea behind it and the reasoning is what makes it good.
Yeah, and we didn't. Let's end there. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I think we didn't talk about was, of course, everybody thought we were just getting ready to hang up, so they probably stopped listening already now.
No, we do that on every single one. It's like, we're done, and then 30 more minutes.
No, I won't do 30 minutes, but, that was the one thing we didn't talk about. I guess at 102, we'll come back and talk about the rodeo stuff, because we never really got into that
It's
either.
a rodeo show, but it's also not a rodeo show at the same time.
Yeah, because
everything.
you wanted me to give you the deep, dark, cynical my path on the rodeo thing, but I didn't do that.
I kind of think maybe we should wait just so they don't get mad at me when I'm in Glove Life.
It's not bad. I mean, I'm not going to burn any. There's nobody to burn. I mean, there's nothing to burn.
There's not enough people who work at the PRCA anyway.
Well, and it's not about them. Like there's nobody there that I have any
it's
ill will.
It's
the industry as a whole is what you and I were having the conversation with about breakfast about. And I'll just touch on it, then we'll touch on it at 102 about how this industry has everybody. I feel like has to step on somebody to get to another level. That's got to stop too. Like people just love to step on this person. Let me step on him. Let me throw that guy under the bus. I've got to win here. And I think there's a competitive nature there, but that's a deep conversation we'll have about the rodeo. But no, that's not executive structure at Pro Rodeo. I don't.
No, not at all. Yeah, and I actually like George a lot. So
yeah, I do too.
His business mind is pretty good.
Yeah, I get along with him. We've had a couple of interesting conversations, but I mean, I get along with him pretty well.
But that's the nature. My biggest gripe with rodeo is the uncertainty for the people who compete in it. Right, like they're the ones who bring the people in, but they get screwed. And what that does is in turn it kind of makes it where they have to screw people sometimes to survive. That's why you can't compare rodeo to any other sports, because there's zero guarantees. The only guarantee is you're going to spend every dime you have trying to make it work.
Oh, my biggest thing, going back to what you just said, and this is no knock against any of the athletes, all of them that are my friends, I'll tell them the same thing. I want to see the best athletes, not the best truck drivers. And for the past 20, 30, 40 years, I think I've seen the best truck drivers. Sorry, that hurts your feelings. Now, I mean, if you're listening to this and that hurts your feelings, I want a world championship, I'm not a truck driver. The hell you are. You're a truck driver. And the reason why is because it's set up that way. You have to go to this many rodeos. You have to hit this minimum when a guy that may kick your ass that only had to go to half didn't get to qualify for the NFR. I understand that those are rules, but that makes you a truck driver. So anyway, we'll go down that path at episode 102.
102. Yeah, don't forget the 102. I know you don't know how to do math. But
I'm
writing this down.
So, but we were talking about rural cloth and the kind of the purpose behind it. I just felt and believed, and I've got a lot of friends in the industry from Wrangler and Cinch and Ariat, and love those companies. Have so many relationships there. I didn't build rural to be one of them. I didn't build rural to be that big, and I'm not naive to think that I could be in any normal time frame, right? So I'm not trying to compete with them. But I built rural, and I didn't build it for a rodeo lifestyle either. I built it for a rural lifestyle, for rural Americans, like in a sense of, because I didn't feel like rural Americans really had a brand and a brand name that they could identify with. Sure, they had Wrangler and Ariat and Cinch, and they would make an argument to me that they are that brand name, but those brand names really don't say rural. You know what I mean? They say an action, right? They're almost a verb, I guess, to some degree, or not Ariat necessarily, but yeah. So, or noun, I don't know. Don't get me going down the English thing, but you get the point.
Yeah.
But no,
I failed English and math so far in this podcast.
I started rural. as a company to give, I wanted to make a really cool kind of retro, feel like this, shirt that I have on right now, a little Western cut, but I wanted to create a really cool retro type product, with, like a traditional look and feel, like or a modern look and feel, right? Like a retro image with technology built into it that was like, hey, this is a cool product, like this flannel stretches and things that we that we didn't have 10, 15 years ago.
Totally.
So and that was kind of and kind of make it in small batches and make it available and do my best to make it affordable, which I found out real quick how challenging that would be as a startup, because you can't order enough product to make it affordable to where you can. And now we finally, I think, gotten over that hump a little bit. Now we're to the point where we can make product and make it, affordable to that rural consumer and hardworking people every single day. And I wanted to make Carhartt cool. Does that make sense? Like I wanted to kind of make a product like that. Not necessarily not just
the freaking rap music industry has made Carhartt cool.
Yeah, well,
all of a sudden you have freaking
how about for a rural lifestyle
Beyonce wearing a Carhartt jacket? Yeah, Kanye West is wearing Realtree Max, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to make a product that was, I wanted to make a product that was kind of, that rural Americans could live with, identify with, and say, look, this is a brand that speaks to me, and there's no question you knew that. That brand.
I will say, dude, I thought it was pretty sick when I saw Kid Rock wearing that one jacket.
Oh yeah,
that was dope.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine and a friend of a friend that gave him that jacket, and yes, and where'd you see that at?
I was like on
social
Facebook
media
or something like that. Yeah, I think Dustin made sure to show me that at one point.
I wish Kid Rock would I'd be happy to supply him with whatever wardrobe he wants. I'm a big Kid Rock fan. I think out of all the concerts,
it was cool. He was at the American, that like rattlesnake hat on or whatever. Yeah. That was pretty cool.
He's one of the. He's one of the most incredibly talented musicians I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
In person, unbelievable. There's not an instrument on the stage he can't play.
Yeah,
he's unreal.
I thought maybe it was like how he says Bob with the. You see, I can't even do it. Bob with that. I thought that's what you were talking about.
No,
that's pretty impressive.
He's just really talented. So anyway, yeah, man, that's what I got. I'm That's it. I don't know what else to say, but I hope that I just did not want this to be boring. And if it's not boring,
you're overthinking it.
I'm good.
No, you're overthinking it.
Okay.
Yeah, pure greatness.
Perfect.
Podcast greatness.
Love it.
I just wish we could have talked about Alex Jones more.
The Alex. Let me tell you, Jazz.
That sounded like a Pomeranian, not Alex Jones.
When you do the Alex Jones voice, like, look, I got to tell you about this Bohemian Grove deal.
Yeah, his is a little better.
And the guys, like, when you talk about where all these guys go to, these high-level politicians and elitists, they've been going to this place called Bohemian Grove. The globalists. It's all about raw power. That's if you go back and listen to what I just did.
No, you got it. That's
it. Yeah, when he's like, hey, you understand, back in my younger days, I was actually really good looking, and these guys were gay for me. Who says stuff like that?
Oh my god. Oh, okay. That's what I got. That's how we end it. Good night, everybody.
Peace out.
From Fort Worth, Texas, in the 12 Gauge Ranch Studios, you've been listening to The Gauge.
Look at him. This has been The Gauge, hosted by me, Chance Conrado, produced and edited by our guy Ty Yeager. Shout out to the executive producers Dustin Pointer and Cody Denton. Marketing and content produced by Riley Chone. Our theme song is by Shay Ashshire and the Night Howlers. Make sure to rate and review this podcast, as well as follow The Gauge on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure to subscribe to The Gauge wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you guys next time.